We are almost ready for our headline act, but we have one piece of housekeeping. There is a green Oakley duffel bag that has gone for a walk. If you spot it, please return it to anyone who has either been on stage or from Travelgate or from the CONX team. If you can keep your eyes peeled, that'd be great. Loads were just shared then. I kind of felt like they just got going and probably have a lot more to say. So if you see them and you have questions about India, go and ask them. They'll be happy to share more information with you. So next up is, as we've already alluded, one of our industry's heavy hitters. He has amazing strategic vision and is probably most well known for scaling one of Europe's most prominent aviation brands. He has a unique perspective, both from a brand and an industry, which is both rare and necessary, and he's extremely bold in everything that he executes. So without further ado, I am honored and happy to welcome Johan Lundgren, former CEO of EasyJet, to the stage.
Thank you very much.
The stage is yours, sir.
Amazing, amazing. Back in black. Have we given a big round of applause for, we got Grace over there, we got Louis, we got Lena, we got Frederick. I must say, listen, fantastic to see you all here this afternoon as well. And I must say also, how many of you were at the drinks reception at the Zafiro yesterday? Very good. Well, I can tell you also by looking at this crowd here and yesterday, there's more than a few familiar faces that I recognize from my time in travel, which has actually reached the astonishing time period of almost 4 decades. That is how old I am. But it's also how early I started. You know, I was gonna talk about really something that is a mixture of things. One, I didn't know if you were aware about that, but there's a connection in here to Fredrik and to Lena and to a company that we have together called Palma Music Studios, that I was actually a musician starting off with. So at 10 years old, I had decided that I wanted to become a trombone soloist. Really odd instrument to choose in the first place. But that's really where I started out the whole thing. And I thought what I was going to do, and I was asked to see whether I could do some findings of whether my musical background or being a musician has actually in any way helped me to be a business leader. Can you conclude with this type of background that actually it makes you better as a CEO? And I thought about this thoroughly, and the answer to that question is perhaps, or rather yes and no, because of course, just by playing music and a musician, you become automatically a better CEO. But what I would say, it has helped me. And I'm going to share some of those things, what I think has been important for that. And I will also tell you why I think it is important that each and every one of us who are leaders, and you are leaders in your own right, try to connect to something that sits outside the whatever you do, 10, 12, 14, 16 hours of work per day, because I do think it makes you a better leader. But anyway, and also I should say that I started out with music, and whilst I failed to make the Royal Academy of Music in Stockholm, and I stopped, I didn't play the trombone for another 10 years, and I tell you the truth, I was sick of it. I wanted to go out, I wanted to have fun, I wanted to meet people, I wanted to travel. And I saw this ad where it said this company, who is now actually a TUI company, they were looking for tour guides to what was then Soviet Union. And I got that job, not because I had any of the formal requirements like a university degree or could speak in Russian, but I thought I'm going to pitch everything on this interview, this process, on my knowledge about Russian culture. And because of the trombone repertoire that I had was a lot of Russian composers, Rachmaninoff, Rimsky-Korsakov, Kostakovich. I could really talk at ease about Russian culture, and I got that job. So I could thank very much the music that actually got into this incredible industry, and what an industry it actually is. Now, I then at a later stage when I was 29. So I got the job, by the way. And you know, all I had thought about, actually, I was going to go out and have fun and perhaps leading bar crawls in Magaluf. Turned out that I got the job as a tour guide, which means that I guided around 80-year-olds from America with blue hair around freezing miserable streets in Moscow. Not exactly the type of fun that I was after. But anyway, I did it. Then I got my first job as MD, CEO, when I was 29. That is very early. And I must say to the board who appointed me then that either they were just incredibly bold or just highly irresponsible in doing so. But anyway, I managed to do that, and then the career just took me into different places. Now, I tell you what I got to come to then at the core of this whole thing, that, you know, when I was about to become 50, 2009, 10, 11, something like that, I had been working like you do, 10, 12, 14 hours. I've been, you know, working 6 days, 7 days a week for a long period of time. Wonderful family that I could come home with. But I felt that there was something missing in my life. I just felt that I'd lost that connection of something that was different from what I was doing every awakened time of my life. And that was, of course, in my case, the music. So when I decided to leave TUI, at that point as deputy CEO, I knew I was going to pick up music again. So I left and I started writing, and hold on to your seats now, highly embarrassing, but I started writing my own songs. And what I then did do was to say, well, actually, while I'm doing this nonsense, why don't I try to record it just for myself? And what I then did do, because I have this geeky, nerdy interest in analog traditional gear, I started raiding places like Abbey Road about things and microphones and compressors and equalizers that they had no use of, but I had use of it. Because I thought at some point in time, this will come together in a bigger picture. So I left that, and I started to do more work on the music. And through a common friend, he said, you know, if you really want to have help with some tracks, and you're building this recording studio, world-class, why do you go and see a world-class songwriter, producer? And he introduced me to Fredrik. And you know, Fredrik, I don't know if you know his name as well, but you would know of people like Justin Timberlake, you would know of people like Black Eyed Peas, you would know of people like Scorpions and Kim Wilde. Those are all artists that Fredrik has been writing songs and producing for. So I thought, you know, nothing could go wrong here if I come to him with my tracks. And I asked Fredrik, and this is in 2014, I asked Fredrik, so how on earth you're living on this island? Because he was here in Mallorca, and how does it work? And he said, well, you know, I traveled to Los Angeles, and I traveled to London, Berlin, Stockholm, whatever these artists are. But he said one of the issues is, of course, that, you know, these artists, they are like everybody else. They want to come to Mallorca, and there's no studio here. And then I had this clever idea that, look, I got a studio, but I have no clients. You don't have a studio, but you got the clients. So we created and formed the Palma Music Studios back in 2015, and we bought the plot in the middle of Palma, and it's now just this amazing mecca, best studio, I would say, definitely in Spain, one of the best in Europe as well, and we're doing a huge number of productions and recordings that Fredrik is running for both actually music and film. Now, at the same time as the studio was ready to go, this is now in November, about November, December 2017, I had been asked by a headhunter to say, look, you can't go around, you know, doing music. That's, you know, come on, you want to be a CEO again at some point again. Why do you go and throw your hat in to try to become CEO of EasyJet? So I did that, and I got that job. And I started working at EasyJet as CEO the same month as the studio opened. And I know what you're thinking, because I definitely thought about that. So this guy, he's going to run one of the world's best, most accredited studios in the world, meeting Grammy-winning artists all day long, and I'm going to work on airport slot allocations. So I know who, you know, drew the short straw on that one, as amazing as my job has been at EasyJet. But regardless on that, I must say there were times that actually it has been a really physical benefit for me, you know, as a CEO to have the studio in here. I hate to bring this up. You remember COVID and all the travel restrictions. And you know the UK was the country that had the most rigid system around this as well. And obviously, you might have known that I was very critical about this, and I was criticizing the UK government because these restrictions were not based on any medical evidence or science. There was nothing that said that actually travel restrictions would reduce the spread of the virus. So I was doing a lot of TV interviews at that point in time. I was down here in Mallorca because we have a house here, and I was going to fly back and do one of these big TV interviews when actually the UK government put Spain on this red stupid thing that was in the traffic light. So I couldn't go back. So I said to Fredrik, I gotta need a studio here because I gotta do some big TV recordings, and I think it was CNN or something. So anyways, I go into the studio. They don't know that I am at my music studio. They just know I am somewhere. But as I do the interview, and I think it goes well, and I have a go at the UK government, the interview finishes, and it's a live one, and my phone started to flash like crazy. And I looked at that and said, what was that about? Who was that? And it turned out that we had, at the time, a German heavy metal band that was recording in a studio, and the drummer with piercing and tattoos just came behind me throughout that CNN interview, and had no idea that he actually was reaching about 2.5 million people at that point in time, anyway. So it was a good thing. I've also had a question whether I had any distractions by the music in my life as the CEO of EasyJet, and of course I haven't had it. Well, there was one time, I should mention that one time. That was not long ago. I was doing a speech, not dissimilar from this. It was 600-700 people in the audience, high-ranking government officials. I think there was members of a European royal household was there. And I had prepared my speech really well, and I had written down what I wanted to say. Usually I don't do speeches through writing things down. But in this case, I thought I better get all of this right. So I wrote down the speech, and I'm about to go up to the podium and to the lectern, and I'm going to start looking at my script where it's supposed to be saying, honorable guest ministers, distinguished members of parliament, ladies and gentlemen. But as I was looking down in the script, it did say, do you miss my kisses and love? I certainly miss yours. And I had replaced the script with a lyric of a very cheesy love song that I was writing at that point in time. That was a distraction. I can honestly admit that. I'm not sure how I got through the rest of that speech anyway, but it did happen. This is the first time that I'm doing an appearance after stepping down from EasyJet here 1st of January this year. And I know that EasyJet doesn't need any introduction. It's Europe's second largest airline. It is the world's 8th largest airline. I must mention something in relation to what these guys talked about India, which is so true. In January last year, we proudly announced at EasyJet that we had made an aircraft order of 157 aircraft from Airbus, with another 101 as an option. And I mean, this is big. I mean, price list, we don't pay price list at EasyJet, but price list, that's $20 billion aircraft worth. And we thought that was a big thing. 3 days afterwards, Indigo, who had the same amount of aircraft fleet that we had, put in an order of 500. That is how big this market is going to develop and how it's going to be. But, the tenure that I had at EasyJet has been an absolutely fantastic one, but it's been quite turbulent. For those of you who have followed this, I started working there at the same time we had this nonsense about Brexit. Then the Brexit was replaced by COVID. And it's great to be running a great airline, but it's not great to run a great airline if you can't fly. I can assure you about that. And then we had, of course, for those of you who remember this, we had one of the world's biggest data breaches. We then had a shareholder revolt. We had this air traffic control chaos. We had the shortage in industry of crew. We had a high cost of living crisis that affected people in the regions we were flying to. And also, sadly and enormously, tragically, still going on, we had 2 full-blown wars in and the proximity of our network, Russia, Ukraine, and Israel, Hamas as well. And I had a journalist ask me while I was leaving, I was doing my last press conference, and said that, this is just amazing. I can't think of another way to describe this to our readers, that it must be like being in a roller coaster who's just strapped to a thunderstorm while this was happening. But I'm so proud about the team, so proud about the colleagues, how we did come out of this. We came out of this, we posted the 2nd best result ever in our history last year. One of the few airlines that has a net cash. Net cash means that you have no net debt at all, which is just unique. We have transformed the travel industry by creating EasyJet Holidays, Europe's fastest growing travel company. And it's just a fantastic job that the team and the people have done there, and I'm so proud to have led them on that journey as well. But I was also asked in that same conference if I had any tip about secrets on how you deal with stress and how you deal with these type of situations, you know, when they come, insurmountable challenges one after one. And I'm not sure I was really honest about that, but I can tell you how I dealt with it, and this is the tip you can use. If you ever feel that you are stressed and this is getting difficult, book a room at Palma Music Studios. Get into a soundproof room and start screaming into a microphone. It is deeply therapeutic, I can assure you. And it's also something that makes you, when you go into your passions and you go into something that recharges you, makes you better at what you do. And for me, it is music. It's not a passion, it's a recharge station that I have. But each and every one of you will have, whether that is in running, whether that is sports, whether that is an interest, whether that is something, make sure you protect that, because it is an invaluable source for you to excel as leaders. It is a valuable source to protect, because nobody else will protect it for you. So my tip to you is to make sure that whatever takes on your interest, make those few hours when you can dedicate to yourself. That isn't only about the job or the family and friends, which you have to attain to as well, but something that will actually revitalize you, because you will see things differently, you will come out, you will be more creative as well, and that is certainly something that I will continue to do in my career as well, because when purpose and passion comes together, it is undeniable the power you can get out of that. So with that, thank you so much, and I'm now going to hand over to Freddie. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Johan. I've heard you hold a lot of speeches, everyone. Thank you, Johan. But it's the first time I've heard Johan speak about war zones and cheesy love lyrics in the same one. So yeah, but I'm very thankful to have Johan as a friend and a mentor. And what you don't know is that while he was transforming one of Europe's biggest airlines, he was also sending me texts asking me which microphones I used to record certain singers, and I knew he would sometimes sneak out of boardrooms to listen to mixes and something like that. But while we come from different places where Johan is in boardrooms and meets people with a lot of suits, and I might hang out with neurotic artists or guitar players wanting to do another solo, we share a passion, and that passion is to create something out of nothing and to do something that transforms people. And I really truly think that we have done that with Palma Music Studios. It's somewhere where business and passion meets. And I would like to cue a little video for you who don't know anything about our studio, just so you know and can see, get a little flavor of what we've created on our favorite island in the world, Mallorca. And the studio is right here in Palma, in the heart of Palma. And gentlemen, if you don't mind cueing the video. Yes, so that is Palma Music Studios. We built a place for people to travel from all around the world to make music and to enjoy this place, just like you are doing now. And whether it's writing songs or making business deals, a hit song is not created by one person. At least it's not performed by just one person. It's all collaborations. And I know that that's what you're here for, doing like the connected thing. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because that's what we do every day in the studio. Try to take something and make that try to take almost nothing and make that into something. And I think that we should close up this beautiful conference by doing something together. And if some of you might have noticed, there's some maracas laying around here. Would you mind throwing me one? Okay, I'm going to do a little test. This is what we usually do in concerts. I want to separate this crowd into two. And for Lena, would you mind giving me, this is my beautiful wife, Lena. Give a good hand for my wife, Lena. Would you mind giving us a beat? This is what I want you to do. Shh. You're amazing. I might sign you to record contract right after this. Now it's your turn. Come on, everyone. Louder. All right. I know that we have someone in the audience who's dying to come up on stage again. And I want you to give a good, big round of applause for the man that made everything of this happen today. He might change instrument. Give a good hand for Pedro. Woo! Keep the beat. You should get a cowbell. I need to go down there because I'm going to be doing something now. You know what to do, Pedro. That's right. We are making magic together. We are creating together. Hold on. Everyone. Thank you, Pedro. Thank you so much.
Wow. What a way to wrap it up. There was no slowing down with the energy. You saw a lot of themes that would have run through all of the sessions, whether it was about building fast, moving quickly, smartly, knowing your markets, failing, but that's okay, go again. So I'm hoping everyone leaves feeling like they've taken loads away from today. And thank you for bringing the energy, especially at the end. So we will wrap up. For those we'll see tomorrow. We look forward to doing business in the prettiest setting. We'll probably have business meetings. And thank you all for coming. In a minute, we'll move into lunch and drinks, which will actually be back downstairs. So take your time, go slow. We'll head down there. And before we say goodbye, we'll invite speakers, sponsors, Travelgate family, all back onto stage for photos. But thank you to all our contributors, our speakers, our sponsors, food, teams. Round of applause. And that's a wrap, guys. You are free. Go and enjoy your afternoon and continue the conversation off stage. Thank you for having me. Speakers, sponsors, come forward.